What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk about grieving because, well, as I've said before, if you've seen one of my other videos, I like to talk about things when I'm most inspired to talk about them. And also because, I did my last video on how shadow work and positive mindset go together. The way in which you maintain a positive mindset while you're healing is by allowing yourself to release emotions as they come up. And so that is part of why I find it so silly that there are people out there who will tell you that a positive mindset doesn't go with healing work, because they go hand in hand. The healing allows you to start building a positive mindset, and then the positive mindset allows you to continue to heal and grieve without suffering. And that's why I like to remind people that the pain sometimes might be inevitable, but the suffering is optional. And so the more we can grieve, the more we can release our emotions in the moment we experience them, or if not immediately in the moment, as soon as possible after, the more we can maintain a positive mindset, the more we allow that pain to flow through us and not stay with us, which is what then allows you to maintain a positive mindset. I think one of the things that people misunderstand most about a positive mindset is there's a difference between maintaining a positive mindset, a good mindset, and maintaining a cheery disposition. And I think that's part of what people misunderstand the most. Because, as I talked about in my last video, my significant other describes me as a cactus that has this little sign next to it that says everything's gonna be just fine. Because there are times where even I will come off as more emotional than I am actually experiencing inside, because I've learned to release my emotions. I've learned to teach how to release one's emotions in a way in which you learn to release them so reliably that by the time you're doing something like vocalizing them, you've already let it go. And vocalizing it is just sort of the cherry on top to release it vibrationally, especially mentally. And so to make sure that we are releasing our emotions rather than holding on to them is so important to maintaining a healthy and happy life. And that's really what I want for everybody, a healthy and happy life. And we can have it. I know that we have convinced ourselves that suffering is just a part of life, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. If you are willing to release and grieve when necessary, when you feel that pain, when you experience that pain, being able to recognize what that signal is telling you, whether it's a danger signal or it's a signal that you need to grieve. Like right now, I am grieving. Right now, I am grieving a loss, and it's a small loss. It's not a big loss, but it is also attached to childhood wounds that I even am still processing. Though I have processed, I would say, a good most of them, even I still have little bits of processing to do. And what I'm grieving now is a part of that process. And because I let myself grieve, I let myself sit and have these moments of sadness, of discomfort, without resistance, I can maintain my positive mindset even through the discomfort, even through the resistance, even through the pain. And I can come out on the other side of these moments better for them. And I felt like it was important to share this with you guys while I'm still in this uncomfortable state. Because all too often we hear people who talk about positive mindset, and they're always just cheery, and you never get to see them process. Or you'll get to see people who are constantly talking about healing, but they end up having this pessimistic view that claims that the positive mindset is contradictory to the healing. And again, I just find that so ridiculous, because even now, as I let myself grieve, what allows me to grieve is knowing, what allows me to grieve comfortably is knowing that everything's gonna be okay. That I am grieving something small. And if I was to be grieving something big, that would be okay too. We can face the darkness. We can face our past, though they are just stories at this point that we tell ourselves. We can face the present and say enough and start moving forward to better, rather than allowing ourselves to sit in the discomfort because that's what we're used to. There is a difference between sitting in a moment of pain to release it and sitting in pain day after day after day because you think that you can't have anything more or better, because you think you deserve it for some reason, because you don't. And there is nothing in this life, there is nothing in this world that you can't heal from. There is nothing in this world when it comes to your life that you can't change. And now, to be fair, you might not be able to change every single little detail. It might require a little bit of compromise on your part in the beginning. But you'll realize when you come out on the other side of it that it wasn't compromise at all, though it might have felt like it in the moment. And that when you come out on the other side of it, allowing yourself to step away from the things that were causing you pain so that you could grieve, so that you could release and move forward to better, because we're all capable of it. The only limitations we really have are the ones in our mind that we allow ourselves to use to hold us back. All too often, we focus too much on the problem and not enough on the solution, to the point where we start dwelling in it rather than allowing ourselves to release it. And just like my meditation that I last put out points out, where our attention is, where our awareness is what we'll experience, is what we'll feel. And there is an appropriate time for grieving and releasing. But you have to grieve and release, not sit and dwell and stew in the problem. Allowing yourself to come out on the other side of that pain with a solution, rather than just being problem-minded. We can be solution-minded. And when we're solution-minded, we are positive-minded. And I think that's part of what people misunderstand. Because there are so many people out there who just think that a positive mindset is about having a cheery disposition, about being happy and bubbly all the time. But that's not it. That's not it. That's not to say that it's not to help you be happy more often than not, because that's absolutely what it's about. But being happy more often than not is different than ignoring problems. That's not what a positive mindset is about. Not at the end of the day, no. Because in order to have a positive mindset, you have to recognize that you've experienced a moment of pain and release it, and have the tools to release it, to grieve whatever it is you need to grieve, like I'm doing now. So I want to leave you with this. One of my favorite ways to put something is from A Course in Miracles, and that is that there is no big or small upset. Anything that takes away from your peace is taking away from your state of peace. So if you need to grieve something, I'm laughing at myself. Because at this point, my ego is trying to tell me that I've grieved enough. And this should be over by now. But it's not, and that's okay. My ego is trying to tell me that I should suck it up. But I'm also hurting. And that's okay. And I need to let myself cry. And I'm trying to, at this point, cry as little as possible just to get this video shot with a clear enough voice. Because I had been crying for a little bit before I started shooting this video. And I know I'll cry a little bit after I'm done. there are no big or small upsets in that sense. Everything is worth your attention, and everything is worthy of grieving so that you can release it. Now, obviously, when I say that what I'm grieving is something small, I'm not sitting here crying like this because someone cut me off in traffic. So what we consider big and small upsets are going to be subjective to us. And to keep that in mind. So for instance, if there are no big or small upsets, and therefore they all deserve our attention, because any amount of upset takes away from our peace, and that is what we are working to maintain, peace, and therefore healthy, happy lives, then obviously getting cut off while driving and having that annoy you is worth looking at, and then choosing again when it comes to the emotion you feel. So you notice yourself having this feeling of annoyance come up, and then go, you know what? I'm not gonna let this bug me. You take a deep breath. And then I usually say something to myself like, you know, all in divine timing, I will get to where I'm supposed to go when I need to be there. And then for things that are a little bigger, like what I'm going through now, I remind myself that it is safe to feel this pain in this moment, but that it'll pass, because what I am experiencing right now is I'm being triggered by a moment in the present to, whether I have words for it or not, have feelings that are coming up from the past. And feelings in the present that are making me sad. Because I feel like I'm losing something. Right now when I'm not. Or maybe a better way to put it would be that I feel like I'm losing more than I am right now. And so I'm letting myself feel those feelings, knowing that no matter what, I'm gonna be okay. And that's what allows me to sit safely in the feeling and grieve and release, because I know no matter what, I'm gonna be okay. And we all can do that for ourselves. We can all put ourselves in a position where we know we're gonna be okay. It isn't this magical thing that can just fall into our laps. We have to build the skills to keep ourselves safe. We have to build the habits to keep ourselves healthy. But we are all capable of that. And we are all capable of then being okay. And then more than okay. And then always gonna be okay. And then always gonna be more than okay. We are all capable of that. we just have to figure out through tapping into what we're grieving to figure out what we need to be okay. So, sure, there are places in time-space that are not the most appropriate to grieve and release. So we may not all be able to do the grieving and releasing the very moment we experience the pain. But the sooner you can release it by grieving it, whatever it is, the sooner you can continue on moving forward to better. And if you have a big loss, it might take you a little while. And one session of grieving might not be enough to release. And that's okay. And part of the reason why that's okay is because you know at any time you need to grieve, you can grieve. You can release. And then put your attention somewhere else. And then if it comes back up, grieve it, release it. And then bring your attention back to the solutions. You're not just trying to get your mind off of it, because that could be pushing it away or pushing it down. Release as much as you can in the moment you choose to do so. And then once you feel complete, just don't be surprised if it does come up again, because there might be more for you to grieve. There might be another trigger you're not aware of. And that's okay, because all triggers will be revealed and dealt with in divine timing. I knew that when I spent time grieving what I'm grieving now, that it would probably not be the last time. So I want you to know that with positive mindset and healing, balanced together, there is a time for grieving and there is a time for happiness. And there can be more happiness than grieving. And grieving is different than suffering. Because when we allow ourselves to grieve, we allow ourselves to release. Release the pain, release the tension, and truly heal, and then move forward to better. So the next time you feel like something painful happened, or even a little annoying, go ahead and let yourself sit with that for a moment, as my mom would say. But allow yourself to sit with it for as long as you need. Grieve whatever it is you need to grieve. And then allow yourself to release it and move forward to solutions. We can do this with all the levels of grieving. Letting go of the what ifs, letting go of the stories that we tell ourselves. Find a solution if there is one, which releasing might be the solution. Forgiveness, for your sake, not theirs, might be the solution. Allowing yourself to say, I'm in pain, or I'm in pain because I was in pain. And let yourself, for a moment, grieve that pain rather than holding it inside and letting yourself suffer. Because you don't have to be holding on to that pain. And that's what causes the suffering. Not allowing yourself to grieve. Not allowing yourself to find the solutions that are there. Not allowing you to forgive is one of those solutions. So don't be afraid to admit when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're upset. Because the faster you can admit that you're upset, the faster you can move through the pain, the less you will suffer, and the sooner you can get back to being happy and healthy. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. I'm gonna go finish grieving now. Go get a little bit more crying in. And if you're ready to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness, if you're ready to step out of those ordinary levels of consciousness and into the spiritual levels of consciousness, if you're ready to grieve, release, and move forward to better, I would love to work with you one-on-one. That is a link in the description, which includes the information on my session packages and your ability to reserve one of the spots that are open right now. I also have the Patreon, where that's basically my library of all of my favorite teachings, the ones that I have made my own, as well as ones that come straight from my teachers. And as always, may the energies you serve you well. Don't forget to check out those links in the description, because I know if you're enjoying my videos here, you'll enjoy those links down in the description. And let's keep making our way through.